Hello, my name is Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. This is the care and feeding of a New World Age report for the Gregorian date of March 15th, 2016, and one Ahau, or sun in the Mayan Zolkin calendar, with the sun entering Aries for the equinox, followed by Mercury entering Aries, the Libra full moon, and lunar eclipse, and Saturn turning retrograde. March 15th is one Ahau, or sun, that carries the themes of honoring ancestors, flowers, light, ascension, co-creation, unconditional love, enlightenment, opening up to new possibilities and beginnings, wholeness, and the awakening to miracles. And I really love that flowers is one of the symbols of Ahau, because the name Patanjali, the author of the Yoga Sutras, means one who casts flowers through time, which is a quality of Ahau, being that the ancestors casting their wisdom through time. Ahau is considered to be one of the most sacred days, because life would not exist on the earth without the warmth and light of the sun. Being both a wave and a particle, light transcends form. This 13-day period is about shining a light on any uncertainty, honoring our ancestors, and taking time to purify our light, to heal our spirits and Mother Earth. And before I get into the daily energy for one Ahau, or sun, on the 15th, all the planets appear to be moving direct from our vantage point here on the Earth, with the exception of Jupiter, which appears to be moving retrograde or in reverse motion. And remember, the themes of retrograde planets are review of the past, reevaluate, reminisce, and we can see these themes being played out. Jupiter was the king of the gods, and the planet is about good fortune, opportunities, faith, religion, beliefs, and expansion. And Jupiter is in Virgo, and Virgo is about organization, health, and services. Mostly what I find with Jupiter retrograde, as with any retrograde cycle, there's a review of the past, and with Jupiter, what gets reviewed are missed opportunities. March is really significant with the solar and lunar eclipses, the equinox, and Saturn turning retrograde. And at the beginning of the report period, Saturn appears to be slowing down prior to moving retrograde or in reverse motion from our perspective here on the Earth on March 25th at 16 degrees 24 minutes of Sagittarius. So during the beginning of this report period, Saturn is stopped and at the peak of its power, and Saturn in Sagittarius delays success until perseverance and patience are learned. Sagittarius themes are travel, education, adventure, expanding our horizons, and planning for upcoming experiences. Ruled by Jupiter, which represents faith, confidence, and abundance. Sagittarius resists responsibility and confinement, seeking to remain free. And this brings more focus on discovering new ideas, philosophy, being at the right place at the right time, overall a quality of optimism. Saturn brings the details to the grand overview of Sagittarius. The proverb, "He who travels slowly travels far and gets there safely," is a great description of Saturn in Sagittarius. Sag rules higher education. Saturn brings hardship. So folks may feel like they're being educated at the school of hard knocks. And Saturn will square Neptune in Pisces off and on this year, which will further dissolve structures and rules during 2016. Excuse me. Saturn entered its retrograde shadow period on December 19th, 2015, when it reached the point where it will eventually turn direct at 9 degrees of Sagittarius, which brought us a time where we received information regarding our commitments that come up for review under Saturn's retrograde period from March 25th to August 13th of 2016. Ultimately, this will yield a change of course regarding the themes, these themes during that period, and put into action between August 14th and November 19th, when it again goes through its shadow phase, moving forward after turning direct. To understand how you personally will be impacted, you want to look at the area of governed by the house of your astrological chart that contains the arc between 9 degrees and 16 degrees of Sagittarius. For me, that's my 6th house of health and service. So Saturn wants me to seriously work on how I can better serve people and make choices to increase health. Saturn retrograde is a taskmaster that demands that we take responsibility to review our beliefs while in Sagittarius. So let's look at the daily vibrational energy for the Trecena. March 15th is one Ahau, or sun, which is about unity experienced through honoring the wisdom and memory of our ancestors in the Mayan Tzolk'in calendar, while we have Mercury in a sextile to Pluto. So from our perspective here on the Earth, Mercury is forming a 60-degree angle with Pluto. This brings out love of the mysterious and wants to know what cannot be known. Our minds are active and penetrating below the surface in a search for core knowledge and real knowledge in the search for truth. This energy is great for studying psychology, astrology, occult subjects, healing techniques that are aimed at regeneration. Folks are going to be more certain of their truths and engage in trying to convince others who are also certain of their personal truth. So this pairing might be a better day to focus on your own investigation and save persuading others for another day. And then also on the 15th, Mercury is in opposition to Jupiter, meaning that they are in a 180-degree angle from our perspective here on the Earth, which expands information and communication. This is also brings a day or two of good feelings and optimistic outlook. With care, this can be helpful in contractual negotiations, planning meetings and discussions and conferences. Because Jupiter is influencing Mercury, the caution to this awareness is of grandiose thinking, where the whole is much clearer than the parts. Read details carefully with regards to the fine points, because we often lose precision and clarity. So read small print. Thoroughness leads to success. In communications with others, the influence of this transit may come off as arrogance or cockiness. So it's important to be flexible and open to others' points of views. Some will want to engage in debating today. Just try to not take any intellectual jousting too seriously. Plans made now or previously and executed now will be furthered by this transit, as long as we can take care to make accurate and perceptive judgments. I'm not going to be covering the daily lunar activity in these reports other than the new and full moons, but that information is available on the New World Birth daily Facebook post and also on the blogger New World Birth blog. Excuse me. The 16th is two Emish or crocodile duality experience through nurturing new beginnings, while Jupiter is in a trines Pluto. So from our perspective here on the Earth, this is a 120-degree angle, which can bring very positive changes to your personal and social relationships. This is a time when it's easier to exert power, so it's important to know why and for whose benefit you're making changes. This can bring opportunities to take control of some aspect of your life, but the changes should be motivated by something beyond your own personal ambition. This transit will benefit you most when you can join the interest of others with your own. It also helps to revise and reform aspects of your life to bring about some type of regeneration and renewal. March 17th is 3 Eek or wind. taking action through communication, while Mercury conjuncts Chiron. And so this is merging mind and communications with wounding and healing, which could bring up old emotional wounds that should be released to allow healing. Going through this process, the heart opens to express and honor what has been felt. The 18th is for Akbal, or night, stability through contemplating the stars in the Mayan Zolkin calendar. March 19th is 5 Khan, or seed, or lizard, empowerment through planting seeds and making new connections. And then the 20th is 6 Chijan, or serpent, which is about being in the flow through being flexible. And at this point, the sun enters into Aries for the equinox. It's spring in the northern hemisphere, autumn in the southern. This is a time when light and dark are equal. The equinox and solstice charts have long been used to predict events for the upcoming season. And this equinox chart has the sun, you can see it denoted here by the circle, in a trine to Mars over here. And Sun trine Mars, it's positive for being assertive from a place of authenticity and energizes our need to be individuals. And then we also have the Leo moon, and it's in a grand trine with Saturn in Sag and Uranus in Aries. So the moon in a trine to Saturn brings in a great opportunity to learn something about ourselves through our relationships with and our effect on our environment. It brings out close relationships between who we are and what we do. And the moon trine Uranus brings energy to the unexpected, innovative, and revolutionary. And then, of course, it's a grand trine. So we also have Saturn trine Uranus, which brings energy to break free from limitation, with Saturn at a standstill or station prior to turning retrograde on the 25th. And we also have a very, very tight conjunction of Venus and Neptune, and which I'll talk about in great detail in just a moment. But in the chart, it's inspiring creative and romantic imagination between planet octaves, influencing our love of beauty and mysticism, but also bringing a fog and illusion to what we value and money matters. We also have Saturn in a square to Neptune, so Saturn square Neptune indicates that structures and rules will continue to dissolve over the next 3 months. And of course, we still have the Uranus and Uranus-Pluto square that we certainly have talked about for several years now. But it's still active at only 2 degrees of separation. And when I think about, I think at this point we've all become acclimated to the themes of revolution and transformation, intention with the material and spiritual worlds, with upheaval along with death and rebirth over the past years, to be too concerned about their influence between now and the solstice. What has been set in motion continues to influence us individually, collectively, and globally for some time to come. And then we've also got Chiron, and it's tightly conjunct the South Node, so the perspective of letting go of the past, particularly anything with an emotional charge, further emphasizes the themes of the Pisces new moon solar eclipse and solar eclipse of endings and beginnings. And over past equinox reports, I've shared a technique that I learned from Barbara Ann Clow regarding setting intentions for manifestation over the next year. In the north, the astrological new year begins when the sun enters into 0 degrees Aries. So if you're interested in this technique, you may want to review the video from March 18th of 2014 for instructions regarding using the alchemy of of 9 dimensions to plant conscious seeds as an intention for the upcoming year. And then, as I said before, also on the 20th, Venus is conjunct Neptune. So from our perspective here on the Earth, Venus and Neptune are at the same degree of Pisces. So this is brings a wave of spiritual inspiration to surf on the equinox. Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. Unconditional love merges with romantic love. I have these two in tight conjunction in my natal chart, which I've realized has influenced me to really never stop loving any of my past partners, regardless of how the relationships ended. For me, this aspect is lifelong, but it will influence all of us for a few days. The peak of this experience is about spirituality through love, compassion, and selflessness. In a sense, this is a union of the souls, union of souls with one another. Or on the other side, disappointment with a loved one for not meeting our expectations, even the unrealistic ones. Daydream is common under this transit, which may be a needed escape from reality. Just remain aware of your surroundings. This does not favor practical thoughts, so you should probably delay decisions or actions that require good judgment, particularly related to relationships or money. One of the best uses of this energy is in creative artistic works, making the ideal real. On the 21st, we have 7 Kimi, or transformation, reflection through releasing what no longer serves us, which at this point we have Mercury entering into Aries, which brings our minds and communications into the realm of new beginnings, restlessness, impulsivity, impatience, and the self and courage. In Aries, Mercury gains strength, imparting aggressiveness in thinking and dialogue. It's also brilliant. Also brilliance to the intelligence. Expect people to become more outspoken and witty, but also impatient and self-serving until it moves into Taurus on April 5th. The 22nd is 8 Manique, or deer, balanced through being of service to others in the Mayan Zol King calendar. March 23rd is 9 Lamat, or star, which is about patience experience through being grateful for abundant relationships, while we have the Libra full moon and annular lunar eclipse with the moon at 3 degrees of Libra, opposed by Mercury and the Sun and stimulated by Mars. This is about finding balance between our personal needs with the Sun in Aries and our sensitivity to the needs of those we have in emotional relationships with the moon in Libra. With this lunation opposed by Mercury, some people will feel real conflict between feelings and reason, and others will find that they're having fruitful expressions of their deeper awareness, either internally or with another. And then the sextile to Mars, the ruling planet Aries, brings a desire to work independently from others. People tend to howl on the full moon, and this one is all that and more. Throughout the history, eclipses have seemed to bring challenges, particularly in the areas, the part of the globe where they can be viewed. For this one, this is going to be East Asia, Australia, Western South America, and most of North America. Although this eclipse really will be difficult to see, as the moon will only be a little bit fainter at the time of the eclipse. Native Americans called this full moon the full worm moon, which with the thawing ground brought earthworms and the return of robins. To the north, the tribes called this the full crow moon, when the end of winter was heralded by crows cawing. Also, it's known as the full sap moon, as warmer days and cold nights allowed the sap to flow and a time to tap maple trees. Also on the 23rd, Jupiter squares Saturn. So Jupiter is forming a 90-degree angle with Saturn from our perspective here on the Earth. Which brings energy to make adjustments in life, such as separating from people or circumstances that are not beneficial. This process is likely to come from the tension between Jupiter's expansion and Saturn's restriction, though through realizing what is appropriate and becoming more aligned with a sense of duty and responsibility. And Saturn is stationary and peaking in its influence as it prepares to turn retrograde in 2 days after it's square to Jupiter. Saturn is also in Jupiter's sign of Sagittarius, putting more emphasis on contraction than expansion, because this transit can bring confusion about whether to expand or cut back. This may be a good time to go off by yourself, as other people's advice will be of little value. This also brings a strong feeling of uncertainty and restlessness, so don't push to make any change, because often we don't have all the facts. In financial markets, Jupiter square Saturn often creates restriction, which will resent and impulsively go all in response to feeling limited with less than optimal results. And then also on the 23rd, the Sun is conjunct with Mercury. So they're at the same degree of Aries, which illuminates communications of all kinds and brightens our thinking process. It's positive for being able to get a point across, but also to listen more carefully to the expressions of others. It's excellent energy to start a business venture with Mercury ruling commerce. The 24th is 10, Maluk or offering, manifestation through appreciating creation, while Mercury is trine to Mars. So from our perspective here on the Earth, Mercury is forming a 120-degree angle with Mars. This is good for mental work with more energy than usual and the willingness to tackle difficult problems. People will be speaking their minds, not to get in fights, but to get their ideas out in the open. This transit brings confidence to express beliefs without fear of letting others know where you stand. This also brings a certain boldness and innovativeness to plans made at this time. This might be a good day to be aware of others' forceful opinions and avoid having conflict when voicing your own opinions. March 25th is 11 Ak or dog, which is resolution through enjoying family and friends. And at this point, Saturn turns retrograde, or appears as if it's moving backwards from our perspective here on the Earth, which begins reviewing past plans to look for practical solutions. This is going to be no small task, because we do have Venus, Chiron, and Neptune all in Pisces, whose influences want to flow and are challenged and also in a challenging square to Sagittarius, where Saturn is changing direction. So overall, the energy of Saturn retrograde can cause stagnation and even break down what is in need of repair or weak. Themes of the next 4.5 months are renovation, reconstruction, deconstruction, and review of all forms of responsibility. And then also on the 25th, Venus opposes Jupiter. So from our perspective here on the Earth, Venus and Jupiter are at a 180-degree angle, which has Venus feeling tension from Jupiter, creating expansion in our personal relationships and growth. It's also very strongly inclined towards excessive indulgences, as it indicates a time of pleasure, satisfaction, or joy with a tendency to overdo. Folks feel a desire to buy expensive luxury items and perhaps without having the means to pay. Venus and Jupiter are about heavy, rich, sweet foods and overeating, so it's really not a great day for a diet. If you can approach this day with discipline, it should be quite enjoyable. Also on the 25th, Venus squares Saturn. So from our perspective here on the Earth, Venus is at a 90-degree angle with Saturn, which is a day of having a difficulty relating to others, feeling cool, reserved, isolated. Many will feel be reevaluating what they're getting out of their relationships as compared to what they're putting in. If you feel loneliness or depression on the 25th, just realize that this too shall pass. Excuse me. On the 26th, it's 12, a Schwinn or monkey understanding through creating something new as the sun trines Mars. So from our perspective here on the Earth, the sun is forming a 120-degree angle with Mars, which is positive for being ourselves, and it's wonderful energy for working alone on a project, not because we don't get along with others, but because we don't want to compromise our vision to accommodate the opinions of others. People feel physically vigorous when Mars positively interacts with the sun, so channeling this energy into some type of physical activity is recommended, not only for the health of the body, but also for its uplifting effect it can have on the mind and spirit. This is a good time to look at various projects begun in the past but not completed to a success, where they are in their development and our motivations in initiating them, and what can be completed soon. If you have been recent new beginnings, are there imbalances that need adjusting? Looking at our own needs and criteria will help us make meaningful the work to engage in at this time. Also on the 26th, we have Venus, again in Pisces, and it's sextiling Pluto in Capricorn. This brings an atmosphere of passion, intensity, and expression with less filtering. Be careful not to say things you'll regret later. Folks may seek advice from older people, Capricorn, regarding relationships and money. Venus in harmony with Pluto combines love and death. So this could be a time when we hear from an ex-lover or have a desire to contact a partner from the past. This transit deepens our emotions and brings more focus on our friendships. It also intensifies love relationships and can take sexual experiences to a whole new level. A new relationship begun under this influence may feel faded. Creativity is magnified and is purposeful. On the 27th, we have a 13 ebb or road movement to the next stage through serving your community in the Mayan Tzolk'in calendar. So no matter what energies are affecting you during the one sun trecena, take some time to be in the flow of the planet by being in nature, watching a sunrise or a sunset, communing with the stars, being conscious of the moment through introspection, meditation, or being with somebody you truly love. Every day we have is a blessing, no matter what dramas beckon to distract us. We're all here just giving the performance of a lifetime on the world stage. Just take some time to observe your play as well as acting your part by remembering you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. I want to thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of the care and feeding of a new world age will be on March 28th for one Ben or reed or corn, with Venus entering Aries, followed by Mercury entering Taurus, and the Aries new moon. You can check us out on Facebook, YouTube, or the Mayan Magic's website, and I encourage you to share this information as videos or as text as widely as you choose. As always, I invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you've got any questions or wish to schedule a reading. And I am providing readings and do wish to make this service available to the greatest amount of folks. So I've created 3 options with 3 levels of compensation. So if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me, as I would love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You'll need to be able to either call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect with Skype to receive your reading. We're also accepting donations to keep these reports freely available. And as always, I'm blessed that you've taken this time to connect with my passion for these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. In Lakesh. And look forward to connecting with you in the future. All my best to everybody.